They say old habits die hard, and nothing could be closer to the truth. For the longest time, there was just a few simple things that were really holding me back from bringing myself to that next level that I always wanted to get to. There are still things that I wish were different. There were habits to change that I want to change, but now I have the system and I know how to do that. That's exactly what we're going to go over in this video. Self-improvement is definitely a cluttered space, but the general premise, I think no matter where you go and who tells you what to do, you need to change your habits. You need to change the way you once were, or kill your old self per se. And that is incredibly important, because if you can't even do that, you're never going to change. Because the habits that got you to where you are now is not the same habits that are going to get you to where you want to go. Those habits brought you to a place that you want to change. Self-improvement. That means self-change. The habits you're doing right now, those are the same habits that got you to the place you don't want to be at. I would say your habits make up 90% of your self-improvement gains. You could be 50% right. You could be 50% accurate in the gym, 50% optimal per se. But if you go every single day, you are going to beat the person who is 100% but goes once a week. I promise you that. So your habits and your consistency, everything boils down to consistency that I talk about. Every single thing you do, it doesn't matter how good you come in once, twice, 3 times, 10 times. It matters how good you can come in for 100, 1,000, 10,000 times in a row. That's what matters. So you have to know and you have to learn how to get rid of those old habits. I think the biggest thing, there's a few big habits, but I think the biggest habit that has to change for you to actually level up, and this is true in my case, it's doom scrolling and wasting time. Now, you've probably heard of that, and you probably know, everybody knows that deep in their heart, doom scrolling is a waste of time and it's not going to get you anything, but we still do it. So you need to break these habits. I think once you actually get rid of that, and it varies much personal, like some people spend a lot more time on Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing than others. But I know for myself, I was considered pretty light. I didn't really use it that much, but I was still spending at least an hour on these places a day. And that hour, if you think about it, I think an hour every day is or 18 minutes every day is 100 hours a year. So that's over 300 hours of the year you could spend at something. If you practice at one skill for 300 hours a year, you're going to get pretty damn good at it pretty darn fast. So it's getting rid of those habits. Now, to break habits, it's not easy. It never was meant to be easy. Habits are habits because you do it over and over, and that makes you comfortable. In order to improve yourself in any aspect, you have to get uncomfortable for a certain period of time. Eventually, the uncomfort becomes the new comfort, and that is how you know you're on the path to success. But to kill these habits, it isn't easy. And because it's not easy and they're hard to kill, we have to take very drastic measures. Now, some people look at it one way. Some people are more dramatic, more drastic, however you want to say it, than others, and some people are more passive. Both definitely can get there, but the more dramatic person typically does better. That's why people who had problems with addiction in the past and they kind of broke free from that tend to do really good at they're really good at whatever they do, because whatever they do, they just lock onto it and they're addicted, they're extreme, and they get the job done. I know a couple people like that in my life who struggled with things in the past, but now they're on a better path and they're just absolutely killing it. They're crushing people, even like me, who are not as, per se, drastic as they are. So you have to take drastic action. Now, what that looks like very much depends on the habit you're trying to kill. So let's talk about the gym. You don't go to the gym. You want to change that. Skipping the gym is a habit of yours. So how do you do that? Well, this is how I kind of made myself do it. Now, I love going to the gym, so this isn't a problem now. It's kind of the opposite now. I would have to kind of kill the habit of going to the gym. I love the gym. I go almost every day. It's my favorite thing. So how do you do it? Well, if I had to do it over again, here's exactly what I would do. First, you have to understand one thing. Your word is final. If you say something, you're going to do it regardless of what it is. And if you say something extreme, way too extreme for you to even do, don't say it. That means your word's worth nothing. You need to make sure your word is final. So for me, what I would do is I would do this. I would say, okay, I am not allowed to eat until I've trained today. Now, I know that may seem extreme, and for science-based lifters and optimalists, yeah, it's probably not optimal, but that is the kind of intensity you have to bring when you're trying to kill these old habits. I actually currently run that right now. Now, I'm not as strict about it because going to the gym is not really a problem for me, but if you're just getting into the gym, you're just trying to get started with new habits, I would definitely say that something like that could be a really good approach. Another thing could be using a reward system. So let's say you're like me and you love food. I mean, who doesn't love food? If you don't love food, get out of here. But anyways, I love food, clearly, I'm still trying to lose some of this. So what I could do is I could say, all right, I am not going to eat until after I've trained, but at the end of the week, let's say I want this donut flavor, whatever, you saw it. You say, okay, well, I need to train 4 or 5, how many ever times you want to set a goal. I need to train 4 times this week in order for me to have that. And your word needs to be final. If you don't train 4 times, you don't eat that damn donut. But if you train 4 times, you go enjoy the hell out of that donut. That's exactly what you have to do. Old habits die hard, so the way that you need to kill them has to be intense. It has to be extreme. I cannot stress that enough. There's people who also think that's not right, though. And there is a point to their theory, but I don't agree with it fully. So look at 2 people. They're both person A and person B. Both are overweight. They have a diet problem. Person A says, okay, from now on, I'm only going to eat whole foods and I'm going to train every day. All right. Person B says, oh, well, I can have up to 500 calories per day of shitty food and the rest will be mostly good and I'm going to try and go to the gym at least 3 times a week. Who do you think is going to actually stick to their stuff and who do you think is going to see progress? They're both going to be hard. If you're coming off of a junk food only diet, they're both going to be tricky. But with the person who's still allowing 500 calories of food in, which, by the way, counting calories, don't believe in it. That's a discussion for another video, though. The person who allows a little bit of junk food every day is going to have a real problem, especially if they're coming off of it. You have to go extreme. That person says 500 calories of junk food. Well, that 500 is going to turn into 6, 7, and before you know it, they're like, oh, well, that's 500, but it was actually 12. And then they're like, well, I'm going to try to go at least 3 times a week. Okay, well, that's not bad, especially for starting. But if you want to get the most out of it, you want to see the fastest progress, the guy who was like, I'm going to go, I think I said 5 times per week. The guy says, I'm going to go 5 times and eat only whole foods. He is going to make miles more progress. And after a few weeks of consistency, of kind of beating himself into it, it's the new him. And he's going to feel better. He's going to look way better. He's going to perform better. Everything's going to be better for him. I'm not saying you can't kill old habits with the option B. However, I just don't think it's as effective because I've tried the option B over and over and over because inherently it's easier. It's less of a change. You kind of get to keep that old part of yourself. But for me personally, I never could actually make changes and stick to them when I just kind of half-assed it, if you will. Whereas I went extreme. When I first started my fitness journey, I was extreme. I ate X amount per day, I ate these foods, I hit this amount of protein, and that's what I did for months, and it worked. Whereas before I was like, oh, well, just a little bit of this, okay, well, I can eat, maybe more today, I need it. I would tell myself things like that in the past. I never saw progress. When I actually locked in, and when I actually my word was final, and I was extreme things lead to extreme results. And that's exactly what I got. And I was very happy with the progress I made. Now, I'm not done. And I've kind of killed a lot of those old habits, so I don't need to be as intense. I don't need to be as hard on myself because honestly, what people consider a healthy diet and what people think is hard to eat, I enjoy, and that's mostly what I eat nowadays. And it's not that hard for me. Like, it depends how it is. And I still love, again, we're talking about diet here, whatever. I still love junk food. I can't lie. I do, and I have it sometimes. But it's much easier for me to manage, and when I actually eat those things, I just don't feel as good. So I eat them less as a result because I know what I need to do, and I know that, hey, if I eat good, I'm going to feel good. And I like to feel good over bad, I'll tell you that much. When I don't feel good, I'm not able to be productive, and just in my heart, it makes me not feel like I'm doing enough, and I hate that feeling. I don't want to feel that way. So that's what I wanted to get across. Old habits die hard. We all have habits, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that I'm perfect. I have habits I want to kill. My social media addiction, I wouldn't say it's super much like an addiction, but I still have a problem with it. I definitely scroll more than I'd like. I'd say by now I'm probably about 30 minutes a day, and I want to get that to 0, and I'm working on it. So my extreme action now is no more. They're gone. YouTube I'm keeping because I post on here, and Instagram I do some stuff on there as well. But that's it. I'm not going on there to scroll. I never had TikTok. That's probably a big help for why I was never really used TikTok or had it. So that's not a problem. But it's extreme action equals extreme result. And guess what? It's going to suck. Sure, I've found myself going to my phone more often and being like, nope, you can't do that. But within a few weeks, it'll be fine. And it'll just be the new me. And it's a better way to live. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get across. How to get rid of your old self and how to transform. And honestly, you may think it's hard. That's because it is hard. But it's only hard for a little while. And things like going to the gym, diet, all of those things, they become like clockwork after a while. Eating good becomes easy because you feel good. And you never realize how bad you felt until you get there. Going to the gym is good when you start to see that progress because you want to keep making it and you're just addicted. That's the way it goes with everything. You know, people say downward spiral, right? Well, upward spiral is definitely a thing too. For sure it is. And all you have to do is be consistent and you will see amazing results. So that's just what I wanted to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have anything you'd like me to cover specifically, go ahead and shoot it down below in the comments because honestly, I will cover anything pretty much. Anything you guys want me to cover, anything you want perspective on, I'm here for it. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And like I always say, goodbye and good night.